Hey folks, hope you're all doing well and welcome to episode 12 of Recommend an Album to Review. Alright, so the way this show works is I put out an episode once a week. In the comments, you kind folks are nice enough to put in some suggestions for records, for albums for me to review. I'll check out those suggestions, I'll pick one out, I'll do a review of it, and then I post it the following week. And it's 12 weeks in a row. It's been fun doing it. Give me an opportunity to listen to a whole bunch of stuff that I'd never heard of before. Another example of that is this week's album. For this week, the band is called The Lightning Seeds, and the album is called Jolification. So first impressions of this record, when I first started listening to it, immediately I heard there was a lot of character in individual songs. They were all very different. Instrumentation, sonically, completely different from each other. They all had their own sonic soundscape, if you will. So it's like, okay, whoever did this record is a studio rat. And the songs themselves, I'm hearing like really high level pop, a pop craftsman at work. I mean, these songs are well crafted beautifully. The instrumentation, used in every song. And I mean, they use a lot of stuff here. There's strings, there's drum loops. But everything is very specific and tailored to that song. So as a listener going through it, you're like, man, this is great. Every song sounds very different than the one before. And so those were my first impressions. And then I didn't do a lot of research, but I just out of curiosity went to see who this band was. And it's the project of an individual named Ian Browdy. And Ian Browdy is a musician. Was in a couple of bands, are big in Japan, and some other bands that I'm not very familiar with. But then he got in. Then he started producing and such, and this project was just sort of an excuse for him to do something in the studio and write some original music. So it was strictly a studio project, but then this took off, and now he's formed a band, and he's touring under the banner of the Lightning Seed. So first impressions were correct. This gentleman is definitely a pop craftsman, and write some incredible songs. So there's 10 tracks on here. So I'm just going to pick out some of the highlights and then tell you at the end sort of overall what I think of the record. All right, the first track, Perfect, is, man, that is a lesson in songwriting and arranging and studio. And man, I mean, it starts off, it's very sparse. There's just like I think just a hi-hat. There's really no drums going. The vocal is very big and prominent, and it's hooky as hell. There's a string section that comes in. I mean, this is just a really well crafted, beautifully recorded pop song. Perfect is just about perfect. So that's one of the highlights. So let's move on. Okay, another highlight, the second track, Lucky You. This is more of a full band thing. Yeah, bass guitar, drums, there's some keyboards in there. It's got some really beautiful guitar fills, really hooky stuff. Just a real catchy song. Definitely, a radio type song. Actually, even the first one, these both songs easily could have been on the radio. Not sure what singles were released off of this album, but I'd say those two are contenders. So another fantastic track. Next, probably my favorite song on here is the next highlight, which is Change. That is just relentless, hooky guitar, bass, drums. But man, that song just kind of grabs you right from the get-go. It's really good. That is a radio hit, and that's a fantastic. I love Change. Change is my favorite on this record for sure. So those are some of the highlights. I mean, there's more, hooky riffs and just beautiful instrumentation. The album came out in '94. It's keyboard heavy at times. There's like that very of the time sort of beat drum sample that were used on the record. But I mean, all in all, you know, a nice departure, you know, from listening to, you know, if you like a lot of heavy music and you just want to put on something really interesting and light and whatever, you know, kind of change the mood. I would highly recommend this record. So, I'll out of five, I'd give this a 4 out of 5. There's really no dogs on this record. I mean, all the songs have something that'll kind of grab you, you know, instrumentally, hooky, vocally. The vocals on this are really good. I think he's got a couple of guest singers on here. There's a couple of lady singers on here. Again, I didn't do a lot of research. They're probably big names. I don't know. But yeah, all in all, a great record. I want to thank the subscriber that suggested this to me. Awesome. If you have an album you'd like to recommend for me to review, please throw that in the comments. We're 12 weeks in. Thanks for watching these shows. Thanks for supporting the channel. You guys rock. And we'll catch you next week. Take care.